Welcome to the Sports Wrap. George, I'm merely a ringer. At least that's what they tell me.
That's what you are, yeah.
That's what I am, just the ringer.
That's what they told me too.
Happy October.
Beautiful day, my
Beautiful
Lord.
Day for October 6th
Yeah.
at 5:07 on the clock here at the Rainier Muni as I look across the bar. This is a busy place on a Wednesday afternoon.
I figured by 5 they'd all be going home for supper, but apparently not.
Well, it just got pushed back a little bit.
Yeah.
We got to celebrate the middle of the week.
That's the hump day thing. I heard about this a long time ago, yeah.
Well, where do you want to start?
We can start with a little football if you wanted to.
Yeah, we can start with football. It is October.
It is October.
So you want to start with college or professional?
Should we get the worst out of the way first?
So that would be actually Trey Potts is what I'm thinking is the worst.
Trey Potts might be. Have you heard anything about Trey Potts?
They are so tight-lipped on it.
They are.
I have looked online multiple times over the last couple of days.
2 podcasts I've listened to, and they know about as much about it as we did.
So, if you don't know, Trey Potts, the running back for the Golden Gophers, left the game in the fourth quarter. With Mark Coyle there, they assessed that he should go to the hospital. He went via ambulance to the hospital and has been in the hospital
ever since.
Apparently ever since. This is 4 days now, and they haven't announced that he's been released. They won't say what he's there for. So, what do you speculate?
Well, I'm thinking that this could be some kind of internal injury, and you hear a bruised kidney or something like this.
That is exactly where I went.
Yeah.
I remember when we were in high school, I was a sophomore. We were playing at Tower Sedan, I'll never forget it. And the kid was a senior, one of the hardest hitting kids I've ever seen play football. And we were getting ready to shower after the game, and he came into the bathroom and he started peeing.
And it was all blood.
And he said, "Oh my God, I'm peeing blood." And I'm like, "What?" Well, he was done.
Yeah.
That was the end of it. So they're being so tight-lipped about it. You don't want another team somewhere down the road saying, "Hey, if we hit Trey Potts in the back, where the kidneys are at, we can hurt him. We can make a big difference." So I suspect that it's something like that. I hope that it's something as simple as that, because of course it could be far worse.
It certainly could. And PJ was saying they have a week off this week, and then they prepare for Nebraska. And he says this is a good week for us to repair our team, and we can only hope. But I tell you, after 4 or 5 days in the hospital, this is serious.
Yeah, obviously it's just like anybody else. I'm sure when anybody's out, whatever it's for, everybody wants to know why. And I'm one of those guys that, hey, I don't care that that I'm in the hospital or something's wrong with me or whatever. I'm just one of those guys. I don't care. There are other people out there that care about it's none of your business, and so I guess we have to respect it. I don't like that I have to respect it, but I will do it, I guess.
Well, and actually, one of the high points is this. Okay, so they lose a very important member of their offense, and yet they were able to still come away with a win on an opponent's field.
Yeah, I don't want to lose that on anybody. That winning in the Big Ten, where Purdue is an improving team, and you went on the road in a rainstorm. And probably the biggest part about it was they were behind at halftime. And now they can't say that PJ Fleck can't win.
He's 1-17.
That he can't win after being behind at halftime. You're right. He's 1-17.
1-17.
And that 0-17 can be so deceiving because you're behind Ohio State, you're behind Michigan, you're behind Penn State.
Yeah.
Well, if you're behind those teams, you probably weren't going to beat those teams anyway. And the fact that I think a more telling record is when you're ahead at halftime and you lose. Well, that's to me is a more important record because the 0-17 thing is deceiving.
I have to say this: watching the game, I thought that the Gopher defense really came through.
Yeah.
And
they shut Penn State out in the second half.
They shut them down. But Purdue, not Penn State.
Yeah.
So, but they shut him right down, and Mafi and Boya Mafi, I tell you, when they say he is capable of so many things, sometimes it's undisciplined, but when he's just going, boy, he is hard to block.
Oh, no doubt about it. I think the thing that I'll say it this way: if Purdue didn't have David Bell, I don't think that game would have been as close. And the scary part was, if David Bell was probably maybe 75%, 70% coming off of the concussion, you don't really know where he was at. But even no matter what percentage he was at, he's a scary threat.
Yeah, he is. No doubt about it.
He's a good receiver.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing on Sundays for somebody someday soon, and he's going to.
Well, and that has a way of becoming contagious with these young receivers, and they know, it's kind of like, when was the last time Iowa had a dog for a tight end? They don't. They go up, become all pros, and so, and it's the same way with Johnson and some of the other receivers they've had in the last few years. Kids know this, and maybe they say, "Hey, maybe I can become that good of a receiver if you got the speed." All you got to do is learn how to catch, right?
Well, you got to learn how to catch, and I think the biggest thing is, I'm going to change over to the Vikings just for a second. If you remember the touchdown pass that Justin Jefferson caught, and you should because it was the only touchdown the Vikings had on Sunday, they talked about the route he ran, how he ran down the field, pressed to the inside, pressed to the outside, got the corner to settle a little bit to the outside, he turned back to the inside,
and he was
inside of the safety, knew where he needed to be, and Kirk Cousins found him with a pass. To me, that's the thing that differentiates why Thielen has been able to become an NFL receiver. He was a Division II guy at Mankato, et cetera, et cetera. It's because he runs good routes. Now, he disappeared on Sunday, I thought, Thielen, and I'm not sure if he's fully functional. But having said that, that's what makes Justin Jefferson so difficult, because not only is he fast, but he runs pretty good routes. Even as a second-year guy, I think he'll get even better.
Well, you watch all the people, all the great receivers. One thing they had were perfect routes, and they become obsessed with it, and you see them work. But the one that Jefferson put on, boy, I'll tell you, there was a jock laying on the field after that. I mean, the guy was completely out of position, and it was just one tiny little step.
That's all it is, and with that quickness, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the college.
Yes.
Did you watch Alabama? Did you watch Georgia? What did you watch?
Okay, I caught Michigan and Wisconsin. Number one.
Okay, I had it on.
Yeah.
Did not watch a play hardly.
Yeah, I wanted to see.
I was watching Gophers.
I wanted to see whether or not Michigan was that good. I kind of watched it later in the night, so when they played it. And then the game that I really enjoyed.
So you do think Michigan is as good as?
Yes.
You think they're for real?
I think they have the first time the best shot in 5 years at beating Ohio State.
Is that because Michigan has improved that much, or you think Ohio State has regressed a little?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't think Ohio State has the defense that it had last year or the year before, for that matter. And Michigan right now, and you know college football. These guys believe in themselves now, and they've been waiting to believe in themselves for a long time. But I think Harbaugh's got a winner.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping you're wrong.
Oh, I know you're.
A.
Yeah.
B. I don't think Wisconsin, who was rated number 10 or 11 at the start of the year, I don't think Wisconsin is as good. So I think that Michigan win is a little deceptive. But having said all that,
and it probably was.
Any day Bucky loses, that's a good day.
Well, and like my team Army's got a week off, and then they come back on the 18th and they play Wisconsin, and so I will be watching. And then I think Minnesota has them. Just a little
has
further down
Wisconsin
the line.
last game of the year.
Yeah, and so Wisconsin's going to be kind of the dog that gets kicked down the alley. I think.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, that doesn't bother me. The game that I did enjoy though was Cincinnati and Notre Dame. And I tell you this because Cincinnati's been trying to piece this championship team together for a lot of years. and they've been almost there, almost the top 5, and living around the 10. Well, they went down to Notre Dame and beat them, and it's just like, and they actually kind of took care of business.
Uncle Paul, and you guys, those that you watch the show know Uncle Paul. He is speculating that there's got to be something illegal going on in Cincinnati. that this can't happen this way. Cincinnati has no reason to be this good.
They have a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, he might be right. You never know about those things. But I told somebody this. I still have a tough time believing that Clemson was as good as they were. Because what was their drawing card? Well, you know, did Dabo get kids in because he did things the right way? We could speculate about any of the programs.
We especially down there.
But
they're pretty
Clemson
competitive.
dropped out of the top 25 for the first time since what, 2014?
Well,
2013?
Arkansas had themselves a pretty good team, and they came up against Georgia and got walloped 37-zip.
This surprised me none. I don't know how does Arkansas get to 8? Because they beat Texas? Because they beat Texas? They get to 8 being... I didn't understand it. I thought Arkansas was overrated hugely. They got their butts handed to them soundly. Now all the voters can put the Razorbacks back where they belong, down in the mid-20s, because that's about probably where they are.
That's where they are, yeah.
So, I wonder about the voters if they're trying to move teams up so it looks more exciting at times.
And you get the SEC, and they figure this is the only football in the country, and we'll go from there. So it's hard to say. But and then Kentucky went over to Florida.
No, Kentucky was at home.
Oh, that was at home. I'm sorry, at home.
And beat Florida for
2013. What, first time in how many years?
Since 1986, they beat Florida at home. Think about that.
Well,
not on the road in Florida. First time they beat them
that was at Kentucky.
In 35 years.
Well, the Wildcats, it was a hang-on from the get-go, and I channel flipped, and they went, and they just kept on going, and pretty soon they thought they could win the game, and they went about doing it.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, we talked about any given Sunday with the NFL.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's any given Saturday as Bowling Green about that. But it was a fun Saturday to kind of sit back. It was really the first Saturday that I have sat down and watched college football. I was thankful to get to watch as much as I did. I got to watch a little volleyball. I got to watch a little hockey on Saturday as UND was on against Bemidji State. Not that I watched a whole bunch of that because it was exhibition, and when it's exhibition, it's exhibition.
Don't they play again here this week?
BSU plays UMD this week at home and home.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
And so anyway, anything else with college football?
No, there was just some terrific games. I mean, Stanford and Oregon. It's just like, hey, and I mean, I am pretty much a Notre Dame fan, but when I see a team come in, an underdog team, and beat the team at the pinnacle, up at the mountaintop, I get thrilled to no end. And so when I see Army, for instance, going up against Wisconsin, there's a possibility they could beat these guys, and if they do,
I think it's a good possibility.
Yeah, so it's fun to watch these other teams. With Stanford and Oregon, that was pretty good, and that big Thibodeau, they kind of tagged him for targeting, and but he's an incredible athlete.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. NDSU versus UND on Saturday as well in FCS, and the Bison continue their quasi-dominance over the Fighting Hawks, 16-7. It was 9-7 until 1:15, 1:30 left in the game when the Bison pushed in their only touchdown of the day. It was old-time line football with some occasional passes thrown in. like I said, it was an old-fashioned bison Sioux, if I can call it that, for whatever, going back to when we used to drive out there and watch the Fighting Hawks. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed watching it, so I had that on after the Gopher game was over, and that's why everything else came kind of in second place. But yeah, good game there. I think UND, Bubba Schweigert, and the crew out there have got themselves a chance to be part of the national championship discussion.
Well, they sure were last year, and you know, and they came on real strong. They have some really good talent on that team. You know, I hope they do well.
Yeah, it's good to watch, and
but you know, it's mostly important to see that game played again consistently every year. That was
the same conference.
Yeah, that was one of the premier games in all the Midwest.
And one of the travesties of college football for years and years that they weren't playing.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. Hey, UMD had to pull one out in Moorhead on Saturday. Scored with 2 seconds left to win 26-21. You got to win when you win without your starting quarterback and you get two of your receivers injured. That's a good win.
What's the matter with Dr. John?
John's injured. He got a bad bum leg.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So a guy who's pretty mobile, he's dinged up and didn't even suit up. So
well, you know, they pieced together two quarterbacks that did the job, and so Molosky would say, you can do the job. If you want to do the job, you got to want to do the job. And anyway, he seemed to find a couple of young quarterbacks to come in and fill that position.
Take care of business.
And besides, you know, John's held that post for
a long time, and he's not going to be around after this year, so they need to find somebody. We're going to talk pros?
Sure.
That means you need to turn your page back, I think.
I do.
All right. Are the Vikings the team we watched 2 weeks ago against Seattle, or are they the team we watched on Sunday?
Well, you know, I'll tell you, Cleveland is a good team. I'm not sure they're a great team.
Cleveland is a good team.
But I got 4 words, you know, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And they ran kind of wherever they wanted to out there. They played very, very well together.
You know, Zimmer said on Monday or Sunday, I can't remember, either in his Sunday press conference or his Monday press conference, he was not concerned with how many rushing yards Cleveland had because they didn't get a biggie. They banged 3 yards, and the Vikes were there to hold them. I'm going to believe him on this.
Well,
I don't think he's blowing smoke. Yes, they gave up 169 yards rushing to these two guys I believe it was like 36 carries.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do the math on that, because Tim likes to do the math. That's a little bit better than 4 yards per carry, I believe. So that's a pretty good average.
Well, Chubb had 22 carries for 100 yards, and Hunt had 69 carries, but he had a 33-yard rusher that set up that field goal at the end of the first half, and that was a breaker.
Okay, so let's take that 33 out of there. That makes it 136 yards on 36 carries. Like I said, I'm going with Zimmer on this. This is without maybe their best linebacker and Anthony Bauer, who they think they're going to get back this week.
Defense wasn't my major concern.
And you know what? I know everybody's going to think I'm nuts and I've lost my mind, but Cleveland has got one of the best defenses in the NFL.
They do.
So I don't want people hitting the panic button that the Vikings couldn't do anything. Did you see what they did on the first drive of the game? Okay, anybody can tell me, oh, it was the first drive, it doesn't mean anything. Bull crap.
No, it does.
That was a 14-play, 75-yard drive. It was meticulous. It was beautiful. It had everything in it. Remember, the second time the Vikings had the ball, okay, I think they punted. Third time, one other way, I don't remember for sure. Third time they had the ball, they drove the ball all the way down inside the 10-yard line, 20-yard line, and went for it on 4th down. Now, this is where I don't understand what the Blazes were doing, because it's a 7-7 ball game. Why are we not kicking the field goal to go up 10-7? Why are we putting this undue pressure on our offense? Has he lost faith in Greg Joseph? I'm not exactly sure. That, to me, was the turning point in the game, George, when he decided on 4th and 4, I think it was, from wherever it was.
Strategically, it really was, yeah.
And then I think one of the next times we had it on the 36-yard line, and he decided to go for it. Now, I understood that one. That's a 53-yard field goal. Let's take a chance and do it. But when you're inside the 20 and you don't kick a field goal in the NFL, to me you're telling your defense, well, I think you might have a problem. No, my good friend Blake, Mr. Mayfield.
Nice guy, yeah.
Baker, not Blake, Baker Mayfield. You know, I still think I'm right.
He had a lousy day. He was 15
not
for 33.
A great quarterback.
He was 15 for 33. He did not have a good day.
Even if Progressive thinks, or whoever it is, thinks he's whatever. Anyway, he only had 155 yards passing. So, all in all, I'm still not ready to kick the Vikings to the curb.
I'm not either.
This is not a Twins season, I don't think.
Well, they've lost all games by
7 or less.
7 or less, and
And was it pass interference on the final play of the game? Because I saw a little video of it, and it looked like to me like our good friend Mr. Thielen got absolutely mugged while the ball was on the way. Now, I don't know. It's just Tim.
No, so I want to bring up 1 point for the Cleveland defense.
Yeah.
Just one. Myles Garrett. He is really a talented football player, and he led that defense. And I mean, you watched them go, and they came hard. They came hard every play. Like I say, Cleveland is a good football team. They're not in the top 5 or anything like that. You know, but they're a good football
Cleveland
team.
in the top 5 defenses in the NFL.
Oh, their defense perhaps as a full team, yeah. No, the defense
as a full
is really
team,
good.
Maybe not top 5, but they're in the top 10.
Oh yeah,
because they can run the ball and they can stop it, which we found out the Vikings didn't run the ball very well. But how many sacks did we give up? Not 9 like Chicago did the week before. So that tells me.
No, they give up 4 sacks, and Garrett got a half of one, but he had 2 tackles for losses, and I think the problem here. I'm getting in trouble. The offensive line did not play very well, Tim.
But they only gave up 4 anyway. To me, the offensive line was playing against one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. So, for what they did, we would like more. I agree, but you got to take into account who they were playing against. So,
well, this is the question I have now. We played Detroit on Sunday.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking we're going to beat Detroit. On the other hand, on any given Sunday.
Not this Sunday.
No, okay.
Not this Sunday.
Okay.
Vikings do not lose. Vikings do not lose this weekend. Sorry, it is not going to happen.
Well, as long as we're talking football here. I haven't brought up Trey Lance in a while.
Well, we should probably talk about Trey Lance.
I think he's got himself a starting position.
And I have a fantasy football weekly show going to be on the radio tomorrow morning, and he is my bust of the week. He is not going to perform well this week.
Who's he playing?
Well, if I remember right, I believe they were playing the Rams. No, that is not correct. Here, you keep jibber jabbering. I will look at it.
Jibber jabber. Okay, so anyway, he's probably starting because Jimmy Garoppolo, he's hit and he's at least out for a little while. So like anything else in the pros, Trey Lance gets an opportunity. And we'll just see where he goes with that. On the other hand, if he's playing against the Rams,
he's got the Cardinals this week.
Oh, the Cardinals. Okay.
I knew it was somebody in the division. So
that's all right. Because you see, the Rams have this Aaron Donald, and he'd scare me.
Yeah. I don't think Trey Lance has.
Speaking of which, the Rams, the Red Hot Rams, they kind of got defeated last week too. And that's
why I say I got Arizona written down here.
Yeah.
And I ask, is Arizona the best team in the NFL?
Well,
not just in the NFC. Are they the best team in the NFL?
They got to be up there. And I mean, I watched Arizona's defense just kind of stifle Stafford, and they were all over him, and it looked for not all the time. It looked like, geez, he's playing for Detroit again. But that had a lot to do with Arizona's defense. There was nobody open.
Yeah, that's why I say Arizona might be the team. Seattle's back to 2-2. Remember, they were my pick to go to the Super Bowl, so I'm still holding to that. My thing about this is I heard this week that Kyler Murray is the front runner for the MVP in the NFL. So on ESPN the other night, they're showing him throw the football. The great things he did on Sunday. Every one one of his throws, he does not step at his target. He steps away from his target and slings the ball. Now,
he's a slinger, yeah.
I'm not saying you can't get away with that, but you can't get away with that. There's no way some team is going to get smart to this and realize that, yes, he's a pretty good athlete. Yes, he can move his feet, but he's a slinger, and you got to keep that in mind. So I'm not sold on Kyler Murray yet. Yes, he's a phenomenal athlete. I'm not sold. I know you're a big Lamar Jackson fan. I'm still not sold on him as being the savior for Baltimore or anybody else. I still don't trust those running quarterbacks.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this: what they have brought, and you just mentioned a bunch of them. These running quarterbacks, these new mobile quarterbacks, they've brought a certain excitement to football, and it's just, and I mean, this is one of the things where
excitement is winning, baby.
Why is football, on the edge of being fanatical again? It's because of these young quarterbacks, and they can do so much, and they sling and they fling. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, you ever see some of the passes he throws?
He shouldn't get away with them.
He shouldn't get away with them. But that sling does not go very high. And there are all kinds of people that are going to strike that sucker and hit him right in the head with it. And it's...
It is reported that the NFL viewership is up 17% from last season.
Oh, boy.
17%?
Yeah, people like this.
Why?
Well, because they were.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to put this in perspective. Last year, you couldn't go to games. The only way you could watch games was if you were at home watching it on a TV. This year, you can put 60,000 people in 16 stadiums. Now, that's 1 million people. And viewership is up 17%. That doesn't make sense to me, George.
Well,
it doesn't add up.
Well, one of the things about viewership, you have so many different options. You have 4K. You have the Manning brothers. You have
Well, because they're talking about that people are out at their shacks watching it, where before, or they're on the road and they're watching it, or they're at the park and they've got their phone on. So, there's definitely those options.
Yeah, so. I do know that you see Mr. Goodell, and they're making an awful lot of money, and he's smiling. And and for their overhead, because they do have some overhead.
Gladiators. Everybody likes to watch the Gladiators, and obviously NFL football is
but when we talk about that, bread and circus, and this hasn't changed much since the Coliseum days, except they're not allowed to use swords anymore. But
anything else football-wise?
No, I don't think so. I kind of got the basics down.
Okay, let's talk baseball.
Let's do that.
Let's talk MLB.
Sure.
I want to gloat for a second, if I might, before we
I watched the game last night.
I was almost right last Thursday when I predicted that it would be New York and Boston. You guys out there might be saying, "Oh, big prediction, ring offer." They were in the top two spots when you made that prediction. The only thing that I had wrong was that the game wasn't at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah,
it was at Fenway. And that might have been the difference in the game. I'm not sure. But I know there were a lot of happy people that the Yankees are dead.
There is nothing more ecstatic than a Red Sox fan beating the Yankees. This is like going to heaven and being able to come home the next day. This is the whole deal. And they were just ecstatic. I felt good for them. It's always nice to see Boston win. I've been to Fenway, man. I think it's great.
I don't want to see either Boston or New York Yankees win, but if I have to pick one of those, like Chicago and Green Bay playing, or Pittsburgh and Green Bay playing like they did on Sunday, I guess I got to pick one, and in this case, yes, I picked the Boston Red Sox because the Yankees are definitely at the bottom, even though Betsy, and I hope Mom, when you watch this, probably she's in the hospital right now, so Mom, get better. She had a little ulcer that she had to get taken care of, so Mom, when you watch this, I know your Yankees lost, and I'm happy, so your favorite child is against you on this one, but anyway, the Dodgers in St. Louis tonight.
Yes.
Do the St. Louis Cardinals continue this unbelievable streak, or do the 106-win Dodgers win it all?
The thing of it is that motivation and winning streaks are big in baseball, and when you're hot, you are really pretty hot, and nobody's been hotter than the Cardinals.
The Dodgers won 106 games, are in the wild card.
Yeah, well, what can you say? There's some good baseball teams out there.
That's a good baseball team.
Yeah.
Right now, they're the betting favorite to win the World Series, the Dodgers, and they're a wild card. Not that they got to play only one extra game.
Is Mookie playing?
I don't know if Mookie's playing, but I know Kershaw's not pitching, and to me, that absolutely takes them out of the run. If he's not pitching, he's out of the run.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have the Dodgers winning tonight.
Okay.
They play San Francisco.
That should be fun.
That should be great.
Yeah.
Who wins?
I think San Francisco's going to win this.
Okay, I'll go along with that. Milwaukee and Atlanta in the other NL series. Who pulls that one?
It's Atlanta's time.
Yeah?
I just think that they're going to pull this one out too.
And that's kind of the feeling I have about Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Milwaukee. It's going to go all 7. And I'm going to take Milwaukee at home. So I got Milwaukee versus San Francisco for the right to go to the World Series. I'm taking San Francisco. They're going to the World Series.
San Francisco's a really good baseball team, and if they can get the
I wish I could
rotation
tell you
working,
one position player for San Francisco. I can't.
Well,
I don't know many of them, but I'm going to learn them, I bet.
Oh yes, we'll know them all before the next show.
On the American League side, we know it's the Red Sox going to Tampa.
Yep.
Who are you taking?
I'm taking the Sox. They're hot right now, yeah.
Okay, I got Tampa probably in 5 games. It's going to go quick. White Sox versus Houston.
Hard to beat Houston. I'm afraid I got to pick Houston on this.
You start hearing banging garbage cans, then we know that it's a fix. We know the fix is it. I'm taking Houston as well. I got Houston versus Tampa. I'm taking Tampa to the World Series. You got Houston and the Red Sox.
Oh, I'll tell you, from that point in time, Houston's going to probably take control.
So you got Houston and San Francisco. I got Tampa and San Francisco.
Yeah.
Who's going to win it off?
I'm going with San Francisco in this one, and I would be nice to see the city pulled on that win again. It's been a long time.
I got Tampa versus San Francisco, and I know this is going to be an unpopular decision, but Tampa wins their 3rd championship in their 4th championship in just over a calendar year. But the Tampa Bay Lightning in the NHL back-to-back championships, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, and I got Tampa Bay Rays winning the World Series. They're going to start calling that Title Town, baby.
Well, I'll tell you, what I do remember about the San Francisco being in the World Series is they were in the World Series, and I come up with all my treats, and I sat down, and I got a friend of mine that's at the game, and she tells me this is all going on and everything. The earthquake came, everything shut down, boom. And that was,
I remember it very, very well.
That took care of that. So, have they been in the World Series since then? Maybe once.
No, they actually won the World Series, I believe, in 2010 and 2012. I think they won the World Series in those years. Don't quote me on those, but I think they won in even years.
Don't give me a quote.
Nobody's ever stressed me out on those things. So, what about the Wild?
They're working and they're playing, and
Kirill played his first game the other night against, I would say, Colorado's second stringers.
Have they won one yet?
They won the other night 3-1. Kirill had 3 points on 3 goals scored.
Okay.
So Kirill seems to have things going. They paired him up with Zuccarello and Eriksson Ek, which I think
that is a fine line.
I'm digging that. Evison said, "Screw this. We're putting the horses on one line and saying, come on."
And they kept on saying, what do they need? They got to make sure that they have a good center, and the rest of it will be taken care of.
I think is a great. It's not a great center. He's a good center.
Well, when he got 2 good wings, he is a good center. And when he got hot last year, he was warm.
So the NHL season starts in about 10 days. So look forward to that. The Wild start on the road out at Anaheim, and I think it's San Jose the second night, Friday, Saturday, and then they come home and they get the peg. They get the Winnipeg Jets on the 19th of October. That's their first home game.
Oh, I tell you, you talk about everybody being energetic at a football game. They're going to be crazy.
Wild games are going to be pretty nuts.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, lots of anticipation. Timberwolves beat New Orleans the other night in their first preseason game. Not going to read anything into that other than this. They scored 40 points in the second quarter.
Well, that's something to read into, and I tell you, I think they're piecing together a pretty talented group of players.
What if they get Ben Simmons?
Wouldn't that be nice?
I don't know what they might have to give up to get him, but it would be interesting to see how this all plays out. They're already complaining that they're too small, that they don't have. They traded away Hernan Gomez and some of these other, they don't have a lot of size. So my solution to that is tell Cat to get his butt down by the basket. He's 7 foot and get some rebounds. That's how I feel about it. But having said this, everybody's talking defense. D'Angelo Russell is talking defense, and that leads to offense. Cat is talking defense. Patrick Beverly is the reason why he came in as a veteran and said, listen, boys, if you guys want to win, you can go up and down the floor and score 137 points a night, and that'd be nice, but you're not going to win.
You're not going to win.
If you play defense and you create offense, you're going to win. So I think everybody's pulling, in the right direction. So maybe they don't need Ben Simmons.
Let me just say, I'm reading that Ben Simmons could be a real game changer.
Oh,
Philadelphia is going crazy over, but I also know that he's a temperamental type guy, but
you know how I feel about those temperamental guys. But given the right situation, a lot of people can shut their lips too.
They can. That's
Even Randy Moss was put under control a little bit when he went to New England.
Yeah.
And Big Tom, the GOAT, said, just shut up and play football.
You're not the only star.
Speaking of Tom, I suppose we should bring up that he did come back. When we did the pro football thing, I was thinking about it, and then we got off task. And now he's thrown for the most yards ever.
And I watched him play the game. I just enjoyed watching him having fun. But it
was a little scary at the end that he wasn't going to win.
Well, it was a little scary, but he doesn't get scared. He's a GOAT, and to watch him and Belichick hug each other on the field, and then Belichick kind of turn away. Belichick very much wanted to win that football game. And there's no two ways about it. And Mr. Jones, well, he's going to be a good young a football player, but Belichick, he had the best they could get, and he had it for a long time, and it just can't go. And he says that Brady could play till he's 50.
Probably could.
Oh boy.
Well, here's the thing. I like what NBC did. They went out and interviewed some New England fans about what they thought about Tom.
Yeah.
And the one guy said, I'm going to cheer for him when he runs out on the field, but as soon as that clock starts, he's the enemy.
He's the enemy.
He's done. We're not cheering for him. We're hoping the worst for him. We want to win the football game. And I thought, that guy understands.
Pat fans, they're a little bit fanatical. I mean, they're a whole bunch fanatical.
Are you watching the WNBA playoffs at all?
Well, no, not since we lost the last one here.
Yeah, not since the Lynx lost. But here's my conundrum with the whole thing. We're unhappy that the number 3 seed Lynx lost in the first round to Chicago. But here's Chicago, who won a 1-game series before they beat the Lynx in a 1-game series, and now they're on the edge of knocking off the number 1 seed Connecticut in a 5-game series. Tonight they could do that, and the number 5 seed Phoenix Mercury could take down the number 2 seed Las Vegas Aces as well tonight. What? Do we have parity in the WNBA?
No, I'm not sure that you do, but these one game spin-offs they're done.
WNBA is going to get rid of those.
Well, even a 3-game series or something. But this just one game, and it doesn't take much to lose a basketball game, and so I'd like to see a little bit, especially when you take a look at the Lynx that had a really pretty good season. And it's
very good season. Shame they didn't get a chance to do more.
Shame that they didn't get a chance to do more.
Some people would say they had a 1 game to show what they could do, and they didn't do it. So, yeah. Did you watch any of the Loons?
No, but I read about them.
Yeah, what'd you read?
I read that they're going to get the All-Star game next year.
Yeah, that ought to be fun. They're talking like a whole week of concerts and such to celebrate. I think that's cool.
Oh, I do.
The big news for me was they tied Dallas on Saturday night, which was a disappointment a little bit. The bad part was their superstar, Emmanuel Reynoso, got a red card. And what that means is he doesn't get to play this week. A red card means you're out for the next game. It's like targeting in college.
Shoot somebody or what?
Well, here's the deal. Him and another guy were going for the ball, and Reynoso took his foot, and he went to step on the ball to try to kind of pull it back to him. And when he did, the other guy got there, and he stepped on his ankle, and he caused him to bleed.
Oh.
So they went to the review. This is the signal they use in soccer for the review. And they went over and watched it on the thing, and the referee comes back and throws up the red card on Reynoso. Well, to me, it's a bogus call. You watch that, it's got to be intent, that he had the intent to injure. Well, if you can tell me that Reynoso's intent there was to injure, so I'm hoping that the MLS will look at it and go, the referee got a little over whatever. We're going to put Reynoso back in the game because the Loons got about 6 games left, and they need points in every one of them to assure themselves that they're going to get to the playoffs.
Well, you see, this happens, in hockey. If you raise your stick and poke out somebody's eye, they're going to call a penalty for you. In football, well, you can have blood in football, apparently. That's no issue. I bled all over the field. So it's, it's a different type deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's move on to college hockey. A couple things I want to talk about. Mankato, number 5, took down number 1 UMass, the defending national champions in Massachusetts. 2 games. The scarier part to me was this. Massachusetts was ahead 3-0 in the game on Sunday. And Mankato came back and beat them 6-3. They scored 1 at the end of the second and 5 in the third period.
Well,
how good's Mankato?
That's one thing about college hockey these days. They're long games, and you can score a lot of goals.
Yeah, and I think obviously UMass is the defending national champions. They get the number 1 ranking in the nation just because that's the way that it is. I think Mankato showed them, hey, they got some stuff to work on. And this week, UMD versus Bemidji State. They play in Bemidji on Friday. They play in Duluth on Saturday. I am jacked. I can't wait to get there to watch. We didn't get to go and watch the Dogs last season, not once. So it's been 2 years, and couldn't be happier. Even though I've got to wear a mask, I will do it to watch Bulldog hockey live. I'm looking forward.
Yeah, my son and the boys are going to go watch them on Friday. So they're.
Well, if you didn't have me strapped into the press box at Sports
You'd be doing
Stadium,
that too.
I'd probably be down there as well. Women's hockey this weekend, the U versus UMD at Amsoil.
Oh, all right.
So I'm thinking I should drive down Saturday afternoon and watch the women's hockey game at 3 o'clock and then watch the men's game at 7 o'clock. That sounds like a pretty nice day, and maybe listen to a college football game on the radio on the way down.
See, you got it all covered.
Simple.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. Just a little sports to make Jim happy.
Just a little sports.
Just a little sports. So, what else you got?
Well, I tell you what, you know me, once in a while,
He reads.
I have a book, and this book is called The Forgotten First.
Okay.
And this is written by Keyshawn Johnson, and he is highlighting.
Isn't he the guy from USC?
Yes.
Is that supposed to mean that he's fairly bright?
Oh no. But
if they go to USC, they're supposed to be pretty bright.
But Keyshawn Johnson is fairly bright. He's very articulate.
Yes, he is.
I
like to give those USC guys a hard time if I can.
I know you do. This is the story of Kenny Washington, Woody Strode, Marion Motley, and Bill Willis, and how they broke the color barrier in the NFL. And then there's a picture in here of Woody Strode, Kenny Washington, and Jackie Robinson on the SC football team, our UCLA football team. And so they have this, and UCLA was one of the only teams that they could get on. Meanwhile, out east, Paul Brown was the coach of first at Great Lakes Naval Academy, and then that's where he met Marion Motley, and then after the war he went over and was the coach of Ohio State, which he ran into Bill Willis. Now, you go to YouTube and you watch Marion Motley run. He was 6 foot tall, 235 pounds, and dangerous. And so right after the war, Paul Brown went over to Motley went to Nevada, and Paul Brown went to Ohio State, and then he brought them all together to form the Cleveland Browns for the American Association. At that point in time, he brought these guys on the team. The NFL really would not allow them on until they started realizing that Paul Brown was getting a pretty good football team, and then they started making some changes. But this is I started reading this, and Woody Strode, I don't know if anybody remembers him, was a really fine movie actor. And he did, the last one I think he said, I watched him do a war movie called Pork Chop Hill, and he was the gladiator in Spartacus, that right at the beginning of the show, and won some awards for that. So these guys are really interesting men, and you know that they had to put up with an awful lot of stuff to get where they were going, but hey, when you can put history and sports together, that's got to be a pretty good book. The Forgotten First.
Okay.
Grab it and read it. I recommend.
Why are you wearing the Gopher Wrestling shirt this week?
It's time.
That's it. It's time.
It's time.
It's not for like a month.
No, but those guys are in there working out right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they're down there thumping, and I'm going to tell you, I don't know what kind of team the Minnesota Gophers are going to have, but they have a closer. They have the best closer in all time.
I think they're going to be okay.
I think they're going to be okay too.
I think the team is going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think Gable knew this, and so somewhere along the line, you can forfeit, you can do an awful lot of things, but when it gets to the nitty gritty, somebody's going to have to go out and wrestle them. I'm just glad it's not me.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I want him on my side. I don't want to be against him.
So, but I hope somewhere along the line, maybe even sneak down in the wintertime and watch those guys wrestle. We'll see what happens. But I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him wrestle before he leaves.
George, do you realize we're less than 3 weeks away from the start of the playoffs?
Isn't that something?
It's crazy. Volleyball playoffs will start in about 19 days from today. The football playoffs will start in 20 days from today, and it's getting down to the nitty-gritty. Because the reason why this came to the forefront is because the tennis playoffs have already started. Because, of course, they got to play outdoors and they got to get things done before the snow flies too much. But soccer playoffs will start next week, and then volleyball and football in a couple of weeks. So,
well, and this is Bronco homecoming week.
Yes, it is.
And it's this is a big time for all the schools. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to go to the football game over at the stadium at the request of one of the referees. I'm sure to assess his refereeing skills.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to go watch the boys play tomorrow, and I understand the 7th, 8th grade junior high group has some horses. And in fact, one of those horses they brought up to the varsity last weekend, and Lucas Hollis did a remarkable job.
For an 8th grader. You know, you would think an 8th grader in a varsity game, I don't care what level you're playing at, whether Hinckley Finlayson is the greatest team or the worst team, makes no difference. You figure you put an 8th grader in at the nose guard, you figure he's going to have a tough day. He stood up for himself. He did well. I won't say he did great, but for an 8th grader, he played very, very well. I don't want to squelch your enthusiasm for the game tomorrow, but my understanding is, after talking to the head coach today, is he will not be playing tomorrow.
It doesn't surprise me.
Against Wasabi East, because he went down to Chisholm yesterday.
Oh.
I don't know if you heard the final score.
No.
The Broncos beat Chisholm 70-0. Ooh.
This was this 8th grade group?
7th and 8th grade group together.
Are they undefeated this year?
No, they lost to Hibbing 20-14. So I believe they're 4-1. They get Wasabi East on Thursday. Mr. Hollis will not be playing with the 7th and 8th graders. I have been told that he may get a starting nod on Friday night, depending about how things go. So don't be surprised to see number 70 in the ball game. We're not going to get to say this about 8th graders very often.
We've never done it before.
Like I said, showed himself well. He's got good size. He's got great strength for an 8th grader. And so, anyway, if you're going to the game, you live here in town, or hey, even if you're watching on yourliveevent.com, plug for the radio station, look for number 70 in the purple jersey, and we'll see how he does against the Titans from GNK on homecoming.
Well, he wasn't intimidated by these guys on Friday, so I'm sure he'll stand up, and there's got to be some parents there pretty proud of this kid.
Bronco volleyball team beat Hibbing for just the 7th time in 71 meetings on Monday night. Think about that. 7th time they've only beat them in 71 meetings. So put that into perspective. That's a pretty big win.
Well, no, it is, and I I remember my daughter and her friends going through it. I don't remember if they ever were able to beat Hibbing. I don't think they did.
They've been obviously few and far between.
Yeah.
I think a couple times back in the 70s or early 80s when, well, I know they beat them twice one year when the girls went undefeated in 1980. The 80 volleyball team went undefeated through the regular season. They beat Hibbing twice that year, and I know it was like 4 or 5 years ago that they beat them for the 6th time. I remember that. So again, it's been very difficult, but playing well. Unfortunately lost to Chisholm last night in 4 sets, but they've got a big one coming up on Monday against Little Fork. As always,
that is a big one.
That's a big one. Both teams, I believe, will be at full strength. I know they weren't the first time they played, so let's hope that we get a great one on Monday the 11th. Again, you can watch it on yourliveevent.com if you're outside of the viewing area, if you're not going to the games. So anyway, anything else, George?
Oh, I can't think of anything. I'm just kind of, I do have a roster for the Gopher basketball team, and I will say this. It's kind of a surprising roster, and they have pretty good size, and I think they'll be real good right up until the Big Ten season starts. And so, but they'll start with.
It is way too early in my mind, because here's what's going to happen. Just like the dude that came from Northern State, I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah, that's Mr. Fox. Parker Fox.
Parker Fox, thank you. It's too early. Somebody else is going to get injured.
There's going to be some injuries.
And that's why, I mean, their first game isn't until like November 20.
The first they open up the first against Concordia St. Paul and then Kansas City, and then
they play on the
Western Kentucky on the 12th, and then South Carolina or Princeton. I don't know. It must be a
that
tournament.
Concordia game must be an exhibition. They're not playing Concordia St. Paul for a real game, are they?
I guess
that's a Division II.
Well, maybe
you can't count that. That's got to be exhibition. Jeez, we bring in a new guy. Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, they open up Big Ten on December 8th. Michigan State. And they go Michigan State, Michigan, Illinois,
and then they get a couple of games in, and then they get a break till after.
Then they get a break till after Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, Michigan,
we'll talk
Michigan
about
State.
Gopher basketball as the things roll along.
Yeah, they're starting and not doing much yet.
Anything else?
I'm free.
I'm good enough. Hope you guys are good enough. Have a great week. We'll talk to you then. Thanks, everybody.